You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 203.2, our statewide regional previews with Michelle Garmon and Grant Shouse. We preview all 32 regionals and predict all 32 regionals.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, basketball fans, to our statewide regional preview. I'm here with I'm here with Grant Shouse of the Action Sports Network. Joining us on the phone is Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader sports editor Michelle Garmon. And we are going to pick every single regional across the state and talk about some of them. And then we're going to talk about the big Tipton Manchester game coming up on Saturday on a separate podcast. So we also have, I forgot to mention, I'm Greg Mengelt, the host, but my name's on the podcast, so you probably knew that. And of course, producer Susie is in the control room in Jeffersonville. And we have so many previews coming up tomorrow. You might get sick of them. We have a Tipton Manchester preview with Grant and Michelle, as I already mentioned, and we have a Madison County preview, Liberty Christian and Daleville with Rob Hunt, and we have a Delaware County preview, Delta, Wapahani, Daleville, and Monroe Central, which the Star Press covers. We have a Marion preview with Scott Hunt, and we also have Indiana Wesleyan previews with Kevin Helfrich, both the men and women. We have a lot of previews coming up, including this one, which is going to be awesome. Can't wait to do it. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me in your house, Greg.
It's stage 22.
State 22.
Hey, before we get started on the high school
Don't pierce
stuff,
the
I just
veil.
want to give a good luck shout out to Cassidy Crawford, Tipton graduate, who's in her final year at St. Francis, and they are hosting an AIA women's tournament, I believe, tomorrow, or was it today? I don't know.
Tomorrow.
That's what I thought. I want to wish Cassidy and her teammates lots of good luck. It's her swan song, so I'm hoping St. Francis does very well.
All right, so we have 6 local teams still in the tournament and 7 that I consider regional teams, and we will start there. Class 4A in the north with number 1 Fishers, one of our regional teams. They are 27-0. They beat number 3 Westfield 57-47 in a big one. Then number 8 Noblesville 55-46 in the championship. They are the defending state champions. They've won 40 games in a row, and they're looking to become the first team to win the state championship back-to-back years in 12 years. And they take on a Harrison team that's 19-6, and they should beat handily. Although I will say Harrison's wins over Jeff and Kokomo were both impressive. It was their first sectional championship since 1999. They haven't won a regional since 1997. This game is at 7 o'clock at Frankfort, which I should have mentioned at the start. And my pick is Fishers by 19. Grant, your thoughts?
I couldn't give you a score, but no question, I think Fishers is the favorite to win that. Like we talked about in the sectional preview, had them winning the state championship, and Harrison has gone on what's been kind of a Cinderella run in their 2 sectional games, but Fishers is just the more battle tested team. They're the more skilled team, I think, and I would be really shocked if Harrison pulled that off. So I'm going to go with Fishers.
Michelle?
Fishers by double digits. Fishers by double digits. They just have too much talent, and this is a team that should be in the state championship. Could win it this year. I think has a great shot to win it again this year, and then again next year as well.
Definitely the favorites, yeah, and definitely going to be the favorites next year. And they just have so many players. They have great players on their team, Michelle, that often score 6 points in a game because they have so many different options.
Oh, I know, and they are, they're fun to watch. I enjoyed when I've been able to watch them or watch highlights of their games. They're just it's a very team. Now I think that's the key to them, because like you said, they have great players that score 6 points because they really don't care who gets it. It's a
Right.
team first concept, and I think that's what makes them special.
the next sectional is 7 o'clock at Logansport, and it's number 15 Homestead against a very surprising Fort Wayne Carroll team. Homestead 21-5. They've won 15 of their last 16 after a 6-4 start. They beat Huntington North and number 14 Wayne to win their first sectional championship since 2022. Their last regional title came in 2015. Carroll, and they came into the sectional just 9-15, and then they just rolled through defending champion Snyder by 20 and Northrop by 19. That might have been the fact that they won the sectional, not that surprising. They had some good wins on their schedule. They play a really tough one up there in the Summit. The fact that they just steamrolled those teams, what a surprise! I'm still gonna take Homestead by 3, but I'm a little leery of Carroll now.
You never know when you have a Cinderella team. You never know exactly how far that run is going to go. But Carroll is a good program. Has been. I agree. I think Homestead will win, and I think it will be single digits.
I like Homestead to come out of that one. Honestly, I like Homestead to come out by maybe a dozen, 12, 13 points in that game. I saw them against Marion this year, and just they're very well coached. They have talent, unlike I'm not close to Fishers, but they're probably the second most talented team behind Fishers, in my opinion, in the northern half of the state.
Wow.
They have a really good player. It's kind of a 6'6" wing player. His name's Mac Welker. He's their leading scorer and rebounder. He's the straw that stirs the drink for that team. I'll take Homestead, and I'll take Homestead by 12. How about that?
Perfect. Homestead won the regular season matchup. Of course, they're in the same conference. Not a
That's a
lot of.
huge rivalry game of
It
it. That
really
that
is.
is the rivalry
They're
in
on the
Fort
same
Wayne.
side of town.
It's the
Yeah,
same school district,
that's right.
really.
Yeah, suburbs of Fort Wayne,
Mhm.
and very nice places, by the way. Homestead won the regular season matchup. It was less than a month ago, 51-37. Michelle.
We've already kind of seen that those backyard rivalry games. It doesn't really necessarily matter what happened the first time they played.
Staying in the north of Class 4A at South Bend Riley at 4 o'clock on Saturday. By the way, these are single game regionals, if in case I hadn't mentioned that. Number 13 South Bend Riley takes on number 9 Warsaw. Kind of a surprise to see Warsaw. I don't think either one of you or I picked
We did
Grant.
not
We
pick
did not
Warsaw.
pick Warsaw, and I'm surprised that they're there. Riley's 21-4. They've won 11 of their last 12. All 3 of their sectional games were by double digits. Their last regional championship was 2018. Warsaw's 25-4. Their last regional championship was 2016. They've had a lot of a lot of bad injury luck. So I'm gonna take Riley by 7.
You mentioned how neither of us picked them to win that, and you mentioned you're surprised that they got there. We obviously did, like we said, we didn't pick them, but I'm not surprised they're there.
I'm
Um,
surprised they beat Northridge.
they're still a really talented team without some of those
Clearly.
guys that got clear, but without some of those guys that got hurt. They had a kid that hit a shot at the buzzer the other night up there at Elkhart to send it to overtime against Northridge and ended up hanging on by 4.
I'm going to go with the upset special here. I'm going to take Warsaw. Warsaw's got a lot of tradition. They may be. I mean, it's a lot of excitement for basketball up there. Their girls just went all the way to the state finals. So I think
Football.
you've got a community that is jacked up right now for basketball.
And
And I
football. Don't forget
yeah,
that.
yes, and that energy that they've had, the success they've had, community, that energy, it feeds off itself. I know. I have been around it.
The last regional in Class 4A is number 7 Crown Point against Portage. Crown Point has won 8 straight games. They blew out their 2 sectional opponents with no problem. They're the reigning regional champion. Last year was their first regional championship in 26 years. That really surprised me. Portage is 20-5. They blew out Chesterton and Merrillville in the sectional. Their last regional came in 1996. This game is at Michigan City at 5 o'clock. Portage won the regular season game 64-40. one of Crown Point's 2 losses. I wonder what happened with that. But I'm going to take Crown Point by 8 and just assume that was some kind of anomaly, or maybe it was the senior trip or something, because that's a weird one.
I like Crown Point to come out of that one too, and 64-60 last time they met by 24. And I saw Crown Point earlier this year against Brebeuf. I think I mentioned that during our sectional preview, and they're really good. I mean, the north half of 4A is really good with Fishers and Homestead
It's
and
going to be a
Crown
great
Point.
semi-state.
It is going to be a good semi-state. I think Fishers is obviously still the favorite in that, but um, I'm going to take the upset special here, like Michelle said. I'm going to take Portage
Oh,
to beat
wow.
Crown Point. I
For
may
the
not be in
sweep.
my words, but I got a feeling. You never know.
So, Michelle, you're the tiebreaker.
I think I'm actually going to take Crown Point, and I think it's going to be a close game, but I will take Crown Point. I don't know either what happened earlier, but I do know that you had a lot. There was the flu epidemic was rampant from December all the
That's
way
right.
up until
Yep.
the end of
Something weird.
February.
The results just don't line up with that. Something weird had to have happened.
I'll take Crown Point, but I mean I won't be surprised if Portage wins, but I will take Crown Point in a close one.
All right, the 4A South, it's going to be 4 blowouts. So just tell me if I'm wrong, and if you have any opinions on these games, feel free to let me know. By the way, my opinion that it's going to be 4 blowouts. This is going to be the closest of them, probably. And well, this could be a really good one, actually. Number 16, Mount Vernon takes on Brownsburg at 1 o'clock at Southport. Mount Vernon, of course, is 20-5. They beat number 5 Anderson and number 2 Greenfield Central to win the Muncie Central Sectional. Their last regional championship was 2013. Brownsburg is 13-12. We all know they're better than that. They were 5-9 at one point. They beat Avon, Plainfield, and two-time reigning semi-state champion Ben Davis in overtime. They, of course, won a regional 2 years ago. My prediction is Mount Vernon by 11.
Okay, well, I want to first of all, Mount Vernon. I did not realize this is where, but I was reading a story on Mount Vernon. It might have been something from Kyle Ned and Rip, and saw a name, Aiden Doherty. Travis, that's his son.
Yeah,
The last time I saw
he's a
Aiden,
good
he was
coach.
just, I think, a baby or a toddler, because that's how little he was when he was at Tipton. Travis, former standout at Alexandria, Tipton coach. So I think that's great. I do think Browns or Mount Vernon will win big, because I do think they got the best junior in the state in Luke Girdle. And that's a shame he's going to Purdue, but
Oh, I was just
he
about to
is.
say boiler up because they're about to tip off against USC here.
Well, I don't know if he's related to the Tipton Earls from way, way back, and it would be a distant relations by this point. And then I want to give a shout out to Brownsburg's Kyle Nedrip. His son hit a great big time 3-pointer to help Brownsburg win that. And so I'm happy that he was able to do that. It's kind of sad that Kyle has to watch that on video.
Yeah.
But how exciting. But, I just want to give a shout out to that, because Kyle's been really nice to us on this podcast. And
Yes, he has.
Going with my prediction here with Mount Vernon and Brownsburg, sprinkle in a little nugget here. Steve Lynch, the head coach of Brownsburg, Manchester College grad. My dad started his coaching career as an assistant coach with Dave Henson, who we will talk about later. And one of the assistants, and it was at Whitco, and one of the assistants with my dad there was Steve Lynch, who's now at Brownsburg, and he had a whole career where he coached in Division One, coached at Southwest Missouri State with Steve Alford, and left there, came back to Ball State, and then he actually was the head coach at Mount Vernon for
I know that's
yeah,
kind of ironic, isn't it? That
yeah, it
doesn't happen
is.
very often, I bet.
He was the head coach at Mount Vernon and moved on to Brownsburg. And the magic of Brownsburg there last week was really incredible. When that score came across that they beat Avon, I was shocked. And then see they beat Plainfield. It's like, oh, okay, they'll get Ben Davis tonight. The luck will run out. No, and in my opinion, that happening is because of coaching, and they do have talent where they are a talented team, but in the schedule they play, but. Coach Lynch is a phenomenal coach, one of the best in the state, and I think that had something to do with it. I do think Mount Vernon is a better team, and I'll take them to win by 14 on Saturday there at Southport.
Yeah, I think Mount Vernon too will win probably by double digits. In Brownsburg, I think, Greg, you and I talked about this earlier in the year. I know a lot of these big schools don't necessarily always share a lot of athletes between football and basketball, but if Brownsburg had any key players that played in that football, they got a
Yeah.
they got a late start. And with their schedule, there's no easy games to, you
Well,
know,
we'll talk about Indianapolis Lutheran later. You talk about a team that took a while to get going, but they got going. So yeah, that's a good point. All right, at 4 o'clock at Southport. By the way, fantastic venue, one of my favorites. Number 10 Lawrence North takes on Mooresville. Lawrence North is 20-6, dominated a really good sectional. They of course are the reigning regional champions. Mooresville came into the sectional with a 500 record and then won their first sectional since 1999, a really not good sectional. And their last regional championship was 1977. My prediction is Lawrence North by 28, and that might be conservative. Grant?
I'll take Lawrence North. I don't think it'll be a running clock, but I don't think it'll be a close game. But I like Lawrence North, and we mentioned it. I like Lawrence North to go on a deep run.
yeah, I think Lawrence North big by a lot. It'll be interesting. I think the only I that we talked about this north talked about that north semi-state. I think that south semi-state, I know we'll get to it a little bit later, is also going to be really, really good.
Yes, it is. At 7 o'clock at Southridge, number 6 Jeffersonville takes on Evansville Harrison. Jeffersonville is 20-5. They beat number 12 and rival New Albany by 14 points to win the sectional championship. Jeff has won 14 games in a row since getting healthy. They were a semi state finalist last year and have everybody back from last year's team pretty much. Harrison is 17-7. They beat Wrights by 7 to win back to back sectional titles. Their last regional championship came in 2003. Jeffersonville, I believe, is the best team in the South, although Lawrence North is awfully good. And I'll take Jeff by 21.
I agree with it. Evansville Harrison is just I don't know who they have personnel wise to match up with Jeffersonville, but I can tell
They
you right
don't.
now they're not gonna have the horses to keep up with them. I'll take Jeffersonville by 20 plus.
Yeah, I agree. A healthy Jeffersonville is scary. I mean, I think, Jeffersonville, a healthy Jeffersonville and Lawrence North are probably the only two teams that when they're on their game can play and possibly beat Fishers.
I think that's absolutely the case. And then 7 o'clock at Washington, the Hatchet House, also an amazing venue. It
One I
is,
have to get to.
yes, it is 20-5 Terre Haute North against 15-11 Whiteland. North is came in off an upset of Bloomington North for their first sectional championship since 2022. Whiteland beat host Columbus East 63-59. I know Grant's disappointed in that one to win their first sectional championship since 2002. Whiteland's last regional championship was in 1944, and I don't think it's going to end this. It's what a 81-year drought. I don't think it's going to end. I say Terre Haute North by 15.
Yeah, Terre Haute North is very well coached. They beat Bloomington South in the sectional championship, which I was surprised about, and I picked Bloomington South to win that sectional.
So did I.
That was a really good Bloomington South team that they beat. Whiteland kind of got lucky in that Columbus
They
East
did.
game because Columbus East had multiple opportunities to win that game and just kind of choked it at the end. But Whiteland has a really good player in Ethan Edwards. He's going to University of Indianapolis. He's their best player, but um, I like Coach Wolfie and Terre Haute North to come out on top in that one.
Sometimes when it comes to tournament time, it's almost better to be lucky than good.
Yeah.
It can be not it
Yes.
it is, but it can be sometimes in that scenario. But I do think Whiteland's luck runs out this week.
We will
Yeah.
be right back with our Class 3A sectional previews and predictions. You had no idea that we were gone, but we are back, and Maisie is fed and Grant is watered, so we are ready to go. And with Class 3A, no one has any idea what I was just referencing, but that's okay. 3A in the North, we start at 7 o'clock at Lapel, and it's 14 and 11 Marion. And by the way, this is going to be a great game against 20 and 5 Maconaquah. Marion beat New Haven 92 to 88 in an overtime thriller in the sectional championship and they've won 39 regional championships. This could be their 40th. Their last one came in 2019. Maconaquah is a little bit of the opposite. They had no problem winning their sectional surprisingly easy over Western, Northwestern, and Logansport to win their first sectional in 25 years. Their last regional championship was 26 years ago. And the Sagarin rating says Marion by 5, but I'm going to say Maconaquah by 5.
I believe it's going to be Marion. I know Maconaquah has Josiah Ball, and I want to congratulate him on passing the 2,000 point plateau. That's quite a feat in high school basketball and in any level of basketball. But I think especially high school basketball because, they play fewer games than what you do in college. And I know they have other players besides him.
Yes, they do.
They do, I know. But Marion is deceiving because Marion's played a tougher schedule than Maconaquah, and they are very athletic. And Ball has been in foul trouble in some games, and I just think that Marion could get Maconaquah in that situation. And I just like Marion's athleticism, just tougher schedule, and just their tradition, I think.
Yeah, you can't talk about Indiana high school basketball and not mention what Marion has done.
Top 5 for sure.
Yeah, over the last 100, maybe top two.
Probably top 2.
And in terms of historical and what they've done,
And you
I
could
mean,
argue number 1.
you could a million percent. I mean their first of 8 state championships came 99 years ago in 1926. So this is a program that obviously knows how to win. They have a coach that knows how to win. He's won 3 state championships. I called that Marion New Haven game on Saturday night, and just what an incredible game that was. Went in overtime, 92 to 88. Marion won. They're just so athletic, and it seems like they have guys that have started to click at the right time. Logan Barnes, who was their third or fourth leading scorer in the regular season, only averaged about 7 or 8 points a game. What a tournament he's had so far. He's averaging about 17 points a game in the tournament.
I feel like this is all for you to say that Maconaquah you're gonna pick Maconaquah.
Well, I want to talk about Maconaquah here, and I want to throw this nugget at Michelle here in a minute too. Um, Maconaquah is capable of running with Marion for a while. I don't think they have enough of the horses that Marion has. They have Josiah Ball, and Marion doesn't. Marion doesn't really have a Josiah Ball.
Right.
They don't really have an AJ Kelly either, but the thing is with Maconaquah, they don't have a Tim Jones and they don't have a Logan Barnes or an Amar Rogers. So I like Marion to come out on top of that one by 12 over Maconaquah. But
Whoa.
yeah,
12.
by
Hey,
12.
Grant, and tell me this. I also think this. I think if you don't, I think Lapel's gym. I don't think even packed. I just don't like that atmosphere. I'm so glad that Tipton didn't get sent there again. Um, it's big. People walk in and out, and I just
Yeah.
think that sometimes if you haven't played in there a lot, I'm not so sure for Maconaquah. I don't know.
Same with
You know,
Marion.
are they? Yeah, and same with Marion. But with athletes, Marion can run, done, and dunk the ball or whatever. They don't have to rely on outside shooting. And I really think Maconaquah, in order to beat Marion, is going to, and not saying they can't, but it's going to have to be able, their outside shooters are going to have to be knocking them down.
And I want to throw this nugget out there. We talked about this the other night when we talked at the end of the Marion New Haven game, but for people who may have missed that here, so a little historical fact. I'll keep this short. John
It's a
Burris,
podcast. You can take as long as you want.
John Burris, the coach of Maconaquah, and James Blackman have coached against each other before, and the last time they coached against each other was when Burris was at Southwood and Coach Blackman was at Lures. They played in a regional semifinal game at Tipton. Lures had Deshaun Thomas, ranked number one in the state, would have competed in 4A that year, and Southwood shocked the world that day and upset them in the morning game of the regional there at Tipton. And they have not coached against each other in at least a regular season game. I don't, you never know about over the summer and scrimmages, those kind of things. But
Right.
they wanted to play each other in the regular season. They actually were going to schedule a game for this season, and they just didn't have neither team had enough room. So I'm glad they get to play each other in the regional because those are two teams. That's going to be another game that'll end up being in the 70s and 80s points wise.
And I want the Marion Giants to feel free to use this as motivation, and I'm going to say it anyway. I believe that the best two players in this game are both going to be wearing McConaughey jerseys, and I always like the team that has the best two players. Feel free to use that Tim Jones. Feel free to use that Logan Barnes. I believe those are the best two players in this game. So
I don't know. Is Tim Jones related to Reggie Jones?
Good question. I don't know.
Because if he is,
Horse.
he could be a horse in this tournament. I mean, Reggie
Yeah,
Jones is
Reggie
who
Jones is
single-handedly
legit.
beat Tipton in the regional
What
at
about
Marion one
Lyndon
year.
Jones?
No
So
relation.
Okay, no relation to
I don't
Lyndon.
think they're related to Lyndon. They might.
Who the heck is Larry? There's a very famous Jones in Marion. All
but
right.
Reggie Jones was a beast, wasn't? I mean, had
He was an
Reggie
animal, man.
All
had
right.
he been 2 or 3 inches taller, he would have played in the Big Ten or the
Yeah.
SEC
I
or
just
the
don't remember
ACC.
him. I wasn't around here
He
then,
he
but
he
No,
went
I,
you were
to
not.
I was here for Lyndon Jones,
he went to Western
and
Michigan.
man, was he good. Also in the 3A North Regional is another local team. 16-7 Delta takes on 24-3 Blackhawk at 7 o'clock at Newcastle at the famed Chrysler Arena. Delta beat Yorktown and Newcastle to win their third straight sectional. They are the two-time reigning regional champions. They reached the semi-state final last year. Of course, Blackhawks done a lot more than that. They've gone from Class A to 2A to 3A just based on winning games. They've won
At some point they're gonna end up. At some point they're gonna end up in
5A, 5A.
5A.
At some point, they're going to end up in
There's not
5A.
a 5A yet.
I
But yeah.
know, but if they
They're
just
kind of like they're almost like Heritage Christians girls when the one I forget their coach,
That's
the
right.
gentleman coached
That's
them.
right.
I mean, they just kept
They kept
climbing.
going up and up. They just keep winning. They've won, what did I say? Um, 13 games in a row right now. They crushed all three teams on the way
And they
to
are
their
coached
eighth
by
straight sectional
Matt
championship.
Roth,
You know who
former
that is?
Indiana player.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he
That's
played
right.
at IU. He played for Green.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes, he did.
Blackhawks won 6 regionals in the last 8 years. They made the 2A Final Four last year. And I say Blackhawk by 23, Michelle.
You and I saw Delta at Muncie earlier, but Blackhawk, I'm going to tell you, the Pickett kid, 2 years ago, Tipton played him in the regional over at LaPel, and they had Josh First, Caleb's little brother, who I think was overrated. I don't think he was never as good as, I don't think he's as good, was as good, or is as good as his older brother. They had a guard that I like better, but the Pickett kid stole the show. He doesn't have to score a lot of points, but he's big, he's lanky. I think he's going to Wright State, but he just impressed me as a
Very good
sophomore.
player.
And he's what I call a gamer, meaning when you look and you're going down the scouting report, just the casual fan's going to see his points per game and maybe list him a little farther down, but somebody that watches basketball, breaks down basketball, they know just how key he is to the success of that.
Yeah, I'm this is an easy one for me. I'm going to go with Blackhawk. Delta has kind of, they've won games here down the stretch of the year, but they've stumbled a little bit, and
It's not the same Delta as the
yeah,
last
it's
couple
it's
years.
it's not the same Delta as really earlier in the year, and just Blackhawk is a well-oiled machine. I like them to come out of that one.
Speaking of which, Caleb First, Boilermaker, kind of started the whole Blackhawk thing there. So we're watching them 17-17. midway through the first half, by the way, for those interested. Although
Yeah, and I did
Everybody's going to
mention
know
that
the
Matt.
result.
everyone's going to know the
Real quick.
result. Yeah.
Oh, real quick, I mentioned that Matt Roth is the coach now, but he assisted.
Mark Davidson was the
Yes,
former coach there at Blackhawk, and he had cancer. He passed away in 2022, and then Matt Roth took over, and the next year they won the state championship. Just an incredible story. They had a couple of Coach Davidson's sons on that team. One went on, and the guard that you're thinking about that played against Tipton, I think, was Frankie Davidson, if I'm not mistaken. Frankie
yes, I believe.
Davidson
Yeah,
went on, plays at Grace now. He was a great player on that Blackhawk team.
I think that Coach Davidson kind of handpicked Matt Roth to take over for him because Matt come and serve as his assistant for like a couple years when he got into coaching?
Yeah, he did, and Coach Davidson at one point his illness got real bad where I think he and his family knew he was going to lose his life at some point, and cancer took him way too young, took him too
Yes, it
quick,
did.
and it was so sad to see that happen to him and his health go the way it did. But honestly, he could not have picked a better successor in Matt Roth because Matt Roth is going to win them more state championships. And he can honestly be the coach there at Blackhawk where, for however long he wants. He's had success right away and he's not going anywhere. That's a good job to have. So I don't know why you'd ever want to leave it.
At 1 o'clock at South Bend, Washington, it's number 2 South Bend St. Joe against Columbia City. St. Joe's 23-3. Columbia City is 17-9. St. Joe beat Culver Academy 47-45 to win back-to-back sectional titles. They won a regional last year as well and lost to Scottsburg in the Class 2A championship. Columbia City won their first sectional in 9 years by upsetting 10th ranked Northwood, then beating Tippecanoe Valley 45-43 in overtime. Their last regional championship came in 2011. I'm taking South Bend St. Joseph by 3, and I'm going to say don't be shocked if Columbia City wins this game.
Well, Greg, I picked Columbia City to beat who was it, Western or somebody in a tournament earlier, and I
Right.
actually turned on that game and I was watching it, and I'm
Um,
like, this isn't the
it's
Columbia.
Muncie Central beat Columbia City.
Yeah, that was it. It was Muncie
Yes.
Central,
Yeah.
and I picked them and whatever, and I was like, I was watching it. And I'm like, okay, this is not the same kind of Columbia City team I remember.
But they are
But
now.
they are now. But I will take South Bend St. Joe.
If they beat Northwood, they're legit.
They are. You are legit. Except sometimes I don't know. Clinton Central beat Tipton, and when
Then they
my
beat
sophomore
Tippecanoe
year in high
Valley,
school
who
and was not, and it was their 6th win of the year. It was a huge upset, and they weren't that good.
then they beat a really good Tippecanoe Valley team.
Yeah, now they did do that, and
Yeah.
and that is true. Upsets can happen, so if it happens, it happens. But I feel confident that South Bend St. Joe's will win.
Yeah, South Bend St. Joe's just too talented for Columbia City. Columbia City, talk about earlier where it's better to be lucky than good, and they were obviously good enough to beat. You talk about luck being better than good sometimes, and I think they were good enough to beat that Northwood team, but they hit a shot at the buzzer to send it to overtime against Tippy Valley, and then they hit a shot at the buzzer to win it against Tippy Valley. I think just the luck runs out here, and South Bend St. Joe is going to cut down that Saturday.
Don't be shocked, everybody, if Columbia City pulls off that upset. 2 o'clock at Michigan City. It'll be 19-8 East Chicago Central against 15-11 Hanover Central. There will be no upset in this one. Uh, East Chicago Central's won back-to-back sectional championships. Their last regional championship was in 2007 when they won the state championship with a young man named Etuan Moore.
Yeah.
Hanover Central had no problem winning their first sectional championship since 2020, but they've never won a regional. And my pick is the Cardinals of East Chicago Central by 17, Michelle.
I'll agree with you. It'll be double figures. Grant, I don't know exactly how old you are, but I know I am old, and I know I'm older than you. But
I think
Greg,
so.
yeah, and Greg knows, probably remembers. I mean, East Chicago Central. It's kind of nice to hear a blast from the past
It
because,
really is.
Yeah.
I mean, many years ago, you know, they did the
They
50
were
years
the
thing for the
premier.
women. Yeah, I mean, the
Yeah,
women
they
and the
were the
boys.
premier program in Northwest Indiana.
Yes, their girls and boys both were many moons ago, and so it's kind of nice sometimes to see some of those programs make a resurgence.
Yeah. I mean, to answer not your question, but give you a state. I'm 20, but I know about the history, and there's a really good documentary to watch, and I cannot remember the name, but it was about a year ago when I watched it. It's about East Chicago basketball back when
Mm.
in the 40s, 50s, 60s with Johnny Barrato and some of the players they had, and they named the gym after him, which is one of the largest in the world. And just kind of these Czechoslovakian and these people that came from overseas and immigrated over, and they worked at the steel mill in Gary, and those kids became really good basketball players. A guy by the name of Pete Turgovich.
Turgovich.
Yes,
He was one of the disciples. They had a guy that you guys will know named Greg Popovich, who was from that area, and he
yes.
actually went to Merrillville, but he was still from that area. That's a really good area of basketball. So to see that they're having success again, they have, I believe, the youngest coach in the state of Indiana Ala Moreau. I think is how you say his name. He's a really good coach. He's only about 23, 24 years old,
Wow.
and he's coaching these kids that he's not much. He may be 25, 26, but still young. I like East Chicago Central to come out on top over Hanover Central.
I want everybody to know that while we are podcasting, Grant is watching two different basketball games. That's how much he loves this stuff.
I got 3 words for you, and this is a phrase I use a lot this time of year. This is March. So,
Hey,
Your
hey,
attention
Grant.
will be divided.
Hey, Grant.
Well,
I would have never guessed you're 20. Not that you don't look it, or don't. Not that you don't look young. I knew you were young, but I would have thought you were older just
maturity.
because. Yes, because of your
well,
maturity
thanks.
and
I
your knowledge and
appreciate
your
that.
wealth of knowledge. I mean,
Yes.
it's it's outstanding.
He's so good for
So
his age.
I'll
he
tell you
is.
this. I
Your
wasn't.
career is going to be. You just have a bright, very bright future ahead of you.
Well,
You're
I
good now,
wasn't.
and it's bright.
I wasn't great in school because I was, too busy reading up on East Chicago Central
Exactly.
basketball
Me too.
in class on my computer. So that's where this comes from. Blame my lack of school knowledge, I guess.
My parents said I didn't do well in school. My parents said they knew I'd be okay because I was always reading a book about sports. So they figured that if I was always reading, I would end up okay. And I thank them for letting me be me. All right, we move to the south of Class 3A and maybe the most anticipated game of the entire weekend. 4 o'clock at Greenfield Central, number 3 New Palestine, number 5 Garin Catholic. Of course, New Pal's 24-3. They blew out Rushville, Beech Grove, and Roncalli for their third straight sectional championship. The Dragons have never won a regional. Garin Catholic is 24-3. Big win in the sectional, 73-61 over Lebanon in the first round. Their biggest win in the sectional was 73-61 over Lebanon in the first round, so not a very tough sectional. They've won 2 of the last 3 regionals. They've won their last 2 regionals and 3 of the last 4. They reached the semi-state final last year. And of course, it's Julius Jeezy against Bryson Cardinal. Man, what a game this is going to be. New Pal beat Garin 66-51 on February 11th. No way it's 15 points either way this time, I don't think. And I'm going to take New Pal by a point.
I don't know about you, Grant, but I think this is the regional game of the day for class 3A
Yeah.
and one
For
of the
any
top
class.
two and maybe any class. Yes. I mean, wow. And where'd you say, I forget, where'd you say this game is being played?
Greenfield Central.
So
At
place New
Greenfield
Pal
Central.
is.
That should be packed. That gym should be packed.
Yeah, it'll be rocking there at Greenfield Central. Um,
It's
Michelle,
almost kind of like a home court though for
It really is.
yeah,
New Pal, isn't it?
that's a team in their conference.
It's about a 5-minute drive.
Who did you pick, Michelle?
Oh, who I haven't picked yet
Okay.
between New Pal and Garin.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I'm going to pick New Pal just because I just think they're pretty good. I think they have the tradition and everything, and nothing against Garen's coach now. I probably would go with Garen if Pete Smith was still a coach. I'll go with and I say that because I like Pete. Pete's a really good guy and is a
Hmm.
friend of mine, and I thought he did a nice job there. But it's going to be tough because I know that Garen's got Brian Cardinal's son and everything.
He's not the only one either.
I know, and
We
he's not
saw
the
them
only one.
earlier this year too.
But I think New Pal is another one of those. I know they've got him, but they've also got some other pieces that complement. I think they're a
Great,
lot.
great
Maybe no
pieces.
one had the same talent level that Fisher's does, but they are a team.
Yes.
So much a team first that, yeah, geez, but they have so many other guys, and they don't care who gets the credit. And I'm not saying Garen does. I just think that because New Pal that's kind of the way they are and have been. And
By the way, Moses
they
Haynes.
play Greenfield Central every year. So, you know, in the regular season, they know all about sellouts and big crowds and pressure games and everything else. And then just in that conference, because that's such a good basketball conference.
I'm gonna take. I'm gonna go differently. I'm gonna take Garen Catholic. They've been in this situation before. Not so sure that that really could matter, but they've been in this situation before. I'm gonna take Garen Catholic. I really like that Cardinal kid. He's good.
A good
He
one.
he lives up to his last name for sure. He's 6'7". I don't know who New Pal has size wise. To
They will not have a.
Yeah.
Garen will definitely have the size advantage.
And on top of it, Garen Catholic is incredibly well coached. Bobby Allen, their coach, he was the coach at Knightstown prior to Garen Catholic, and you referenced Pete Smith there, Michelle. He is a obviously a Hall of Fame caliber coach. He was a good coach, won a state championship or two with them. But I just love where Bobby Allen's at with that team. I'm gonna take Garen Catholic to beat New Pal.
Oh, and that's fine. I just don't know Bobby Allen very well. Like I said, with Pete, when I'll tell you what, the great thing about being part of the media is meeting some really great people and
Hmm.
great coaches and
Yep.
to learn. And
For sure.
I love it because Garen came through Tipton for the regionals um, before, and Pete just let me sit in, and he didn't care. I sit up there and I watched his practice, and I took notes on some drills because, back then when they did that, I was coaching sixth grade girls basketball, but I was good friends with the varsity, coaches, and I would hand off, if I would see plays or something, coaches, you steal things that you see that you like that you might think fit you team personnel wise. And I just gave them some drills, but it was just such an education just to sit in that gym and watch him conduct practice. And I've seen a lot of coaches conduct practice, but it's neat because you know what I always liked about this, and obviously Bobby Allen's good because he's got his team there. The good ones know how to make the most out of the time they have. If you only get an hour and a half of practice, they're going to get every bit out of that hour and a half. It's going to be run, you know, pace is going to be great. Everything's going to be game speed and everything. It's just fun to watch.
4 o'clock at Lebanon. It's number 6 Crispus Attucks against number 11 Northview. Another really good one. Attucks is 19-6. Of course, they play a really tough schedule, but they've won 9 in a row, including a 59-54 win over number 1 Cathedral in the sectional semifinal. Their last regional championship came in 2019, and of course, the greatest high school basketball player of all time went to Crispus Attucks, and that would be Oscar Robertson. Number 11 Northview is 24-2, their first 20-win seasons in 21 years, but they have won back-to-back sectionals in 5 and the last 10 years. Northview's never won a regional. I'm going to take Attucks by 4, but don't be shocked if Northview wins this one.
I'm the one I believe that said I don't count addicts out at the sectional. I thought they would win that sectional, and they did win that sectional. They have a good program. The coach there has done a nice job. They have good athletes too. I'm gonna pick Addicts too. I think Addicts will win that regional.
I'm gonna agree with you guys. I'm gonna take Addicts, and I don't think Northview can keep it close. I saw them against Bloomington South a couple weeks ago, and Bloomington South. I don't know if it just wasn't their night, Northview's night, but Bloomington South absolutely took them to the woodshed, and they have good players. Avery Perry is his name. Avery Perry is a really good player. He's only a junior, about 6'3", and a kind of a small forward for them, but Addicts, man, just they're gonna have the athletes compared to Northview. So I'll take Addicts by 18 over Northview.
I don't know that it'll be 18, but I do think it will be could easily be double digits.
All right, we'll see. But we all three picked Addicts. At 4 o'clock at Northridge, it's number 8 Princeton against Jennings County. You talk about teams who, schools, they just lost a few students, and all of a sudden they went from one of the toughest sectionals in the state to one that they win every year. Number 8 Princeton is 23-2. They beat Gibson Southern by 2 and Washington by 10 to win their sectional, tough sectional. They haven't won a regional since 2009. Jennings County's 12-14. Of course, they play in the Hoosier Hills Conference, so that's kind of understandable. They lost 8 of their last 10 regular season games, but then blew out Batesville and South Dearborn to win their second straight sectional, or their second in the last 3 years since moving from 4A to 3A. They, of course, were regional champions 2 years ago. Jennings County, nice run. I'm glad that that program, who's kind of been at the bottom of the Hoosier Hills Conference and that sectional for a long time, is having some success. But Princeton's going to win this game by 19.
I like Princeton in that one too.
Number 4, Brownstown Central takes on Evansville Memorial at Washington at the Hatchet House at 4 o'clock. Brownstown is 23-2. They started their season 18-0. They won their third straight sectional by beating Charlestown and number 9 Silver Creek. I'm sorry, fourth straight sectional. They've also won the last 2 regionals. They are the defending Class 2A state champions. Memorial won their first sectional in 6 years by beating Mount Vernon Posey and Evansville Central. Their last regional championship came in 1989, and Brownstown Central is going to win this game by at least 14 points.
Well, first I'll go back and I'll agree with you on the Was it Princeton
Oh,
before?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I forgot to make it. I'll agree with you on the Princeton. Brownstown will win. Will win. I don't know if it will be a huge by a lot, but I definitely believe they'll win.
By the way, Dave Benter is also one of those coaches you can learn a ton from.
I would believe so.
I'm gonna take Brownstown too. They have kind of stumbled here down the stretch a little bit. They've not been playing well. Squeaked by Charlestown.
Charlestown's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
barely got by Silver Creek, and we knew
Very
that
close.
was going to be a good game.
Yeah.
But
They're not winning 3A, but
I
they
think
are
they'll win the
still
regional.
still win this regional.
I think they're still in contention and maybe getting to the state championship. Now that Cathedral got knocked out, I think Cathedral would have been their only problem, but I still like them to compete if they were to get out of the regional next week or this week, and I think they will. I'll take Brownstown to win their regional again in 3A. So it goes to show the success.
Yeah. And they've been up and down 4A, 2A, and 3A through the years, so they've been competitive at the 3A level at times as well. So not that big of a surprise. We will be right back with Class 2A. We are back after a short break, which you had no idea about, but I'm telling you anyway. And we are at 2A in the north, and of course, that's where 19-6 Tipton will take on number 4 Manchester, which is 22-2, at Logansport at 4 o'clock on Saturday. Tipton beat 3 16-win teams to win their fourth straight sectional. However, they have not had any success in the regional of late. Manchester is 22-2. They won their 3 sectional games by a combined 72 points, including 70-38 over Grant Shouse's Oak Hill Golden Eagles in the championship game. Manchester's last regional came in 1994 under the great Mo Smedley, which I mention every single time. I'm going to take Manchester by 3 because Tipton doesn't play. There's no such thing as a blowout Tipton game. And, I forgot about the Adams Central game, but it doesn't happen very often. I can't believe these teams have never played.
I'm going to take Manchester to win, and I'm going to take Manchester to win by 19. Manchester is so disciplined defensively. I know we'll get more into it later, but um, the matchup between Grady Carpenter and Gavin Benton is going to be a fun one to watch. I'm looking forward to getting there Saturday, but I'm going to take Manchester to win it.
I'm looking forward to the matchup between the two future Grace College players and Tipton's Grady Carpenter and the Benton kid from Manchester. We'll talk more about that later. As far as my prediction, I believe that Manchester is the overall better team. Tipton's both have been there a couple times, had a chance to win a regional a couple times maybe, and hasn't. My gut says Manchester, but my heart I'll go with the Blue Devils in an upset.
Lapel at 4 o'clock. It'll be number one Wapahani against Western Boone, and maybe the most unevenly matched regional in the entire state. Wapahani's 25-1. They've won 11 in a row. They blew past Eastbrook, Blackford, and Madison Grant, three CIC teams in the sectional. Of course, they made the semi-state last year. Western Boone is 11-14. They upset Delphi, then beat Rensselaer Central and Seeger in a really easy sectional. For their first in 25 years, their last regional championship was 27 years ago. Wapahani by 34.
Yeah, it's for me. It's a no brainer. It's going to be Wapahani, and I'm not sure I can give you a margin of victory, but it'll be Wapahani by a lot. I don't think Weibo can compete with them.
I will say this: when the sectional alignments all came out and everything, and before they were drawn, this was actually the sectional that I wanted Tipton, if Tipton was to win, or even Frankton.
Yes.
That was the sectional I wanted them to play in the regional, because then I thought it would have been a great shot to be headed to
Yes.
the semi-state.
No doubt
So,
about it.
so I don't think Wapahani is going to have any trouble with Weibo on Saturday.
4 o'clock at Triton, it'll be 15-10 Jimtown, which won their first sectional since they won the state championship in 2004 in Dave Benter's first trip to the state finals for Brownstown Central. I sat next to Ed Hamilton at that one.
Hey.
And they will take on Westview, which is 18-7. Their last regional came in 2018. It should be Westview fairly easily, I'm going to say by 6.
I'm going to take the Jimmies of
Whoa.
Jimtown. I don't know much about either of those teams. Westview obviously has a historic program, and that's who Oak Hill beat in the semi-state in 2018.
And 75% of their players will be named Miller or Yoder. We
Yeah,
know that.
or Hostetler,
There you go.
something like that. I like Jimtown to come out of that one just because I think they played a tougher schedule than Westview. They're playing some of those South Bend teams, those Northern Indiana teams, and what a better name than the Jimtown Jimmies.
Fantastic.
Oh, I mean, what a name! It's like the Philadelphia Phillies.
That's
The Jimtown Jimmies. So I'll take Jimtown over Westview.
Elwood used to play Jimtown in football. Go ahead.
I have a coworker, or had a coworker, several years ago. Her kids are Jimtown graduates, and so it's so funny because her son's name was Jimmy, and he ran track
Wow.
and played football at Jimtown. So
Was his last name James? Please tell me that his last name was James.
no, it was not. But I know Jimtown could win. I think, but just because of all those Yoders and all of those kids in the past,
Yep.
I'll take Westview.
And then if Garin and New Pal is not the best game of the weekend, it could be the game at 5 o'clock at North Judson, which is number 7 Lures against number 6 Gary, 21st Century. Lures is 21-6, 3 easy wins in the sectional for their first sectional championship since 2017. That's also the last time they won a regional. Gary, 21st Century, also 3 easy wins in the Hebron sectional, their 4th sectional title and in a row, and 10th in the last 13 years. They won the regional 2 years ago. Grant, I picked Lures to win Class 2A state championship. I'm going to stick with that. I say Lures by 5.
Yeah, I took Lures as well, and I think whoever wins that game will be favorites going into next week in the semi-state of the North half. Just the schedules those two teams play are gauntlet schedules, but I still like Lures to come out of that one, and I'll take Lures by two. Take Lures by two to beat Gary 21st.
I'm going to agree with you. If New Pal and Garren is 1A, then Lures and Gary 21st Century is 1B um, as
That's
far
right.
as games of the week. And I know Lures has all of the big tradition on their side. And where'd you, again, did you say this game is being played?
North Judson.
North Judson. Yeah, I want to take Gary. I'll take Gary.
That's one of
Maybe they'll have slightly few more. I mean, that's the only bad thing is it's probably going to be a great game. I just don't know how many fans are going to be there to see it.
good point. There probably will not be a ton. We move to the south of Class 2A and we start at 4 o'clock at Martinsville, where it's number 3 Park Heritage against Centerville. Park Heritage is 23-4, won 9 games in a row. They beat their 3 sectional opponents by a combined 73 points. They lost to Brownstown last year in the semi-state championship. Centerville is 20-7. They've won 13 of their last 14. They upset number 5 Northeastern, like Greg said they would, to win their first sectional championship since 2011. Their last regional came in 2004. I'm taking Park Heritage by 4, but again, don't be shocked if Centerville wins this game.
Well, you said the other day, Greg, that Centerville was an up and right, kind of a rising star, rising program
Led
here.
by freshmen.
I still like Park Heritage and their leadership. They have a great player in Trey Shelsky, who is a all-star caliber player. I'll take Park Heritage to win it by 9 over Centerville.
I'll say Park Heritage, and I'll say single digits.
1 o'clock at Lebanon, it'll be Triton Central against University. Triton Central 16-9, coached by Hall of Famer Mark James, former Ben Davis coach. The
And
Tigers,
Franklin Central coach.
that's right. Tigers won 3 close games over Heritage Christian, Crystal House, and Cecina for their first sectional championship in 23 years. Their only regional championship came in 1989. University didn't even exist then. Is 17-9. They beat Ritter by 15 to win their first sectional championship since 2022. Their last regional came in 2013. That was a really good team that Providence beat on their way to the state championship. I will take Triton Central by 3, though.
I'll agree. I will take Triton Central because I think the one thing you that is true about Mark James's coach teams, they're tough. They have there's a toughness to them, and they're good defensively. It's huge when it comes to tournament, time. So I'll take Mark James's team.
I think both teams have probably played a fair schedule, but Triton Central has a player, Eli Sego, and I just think they're going to be much more talented.
Yeah, it seems like he scores 30 every night.
It seems like it.
7 o'clock at Lagodi. It is number 8 Providence against number 11 Linton Stockton. Two programs familiar with each other in a lot of sports. Providence is 17-4. They won, of course, the state championship in 2022. Linton Stockton is 20-6. They beat South Knox and West Vigo to win their 10th sectional in the last 13 years. They won the regional just 2 years ago. This one is a toss-up. I'll take Linton Stockton by a point.
I'll go with Linton Stockton. And this is, if I was to say give you the top 3 games in the state tournament this weekend, this would be my third one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Linton as well. I think they're more poised than Providence. Those are Park Heritage, Linton, and Providence are kind of the 3 cream of the crops of the South that always feel like they make a run. You could maybe argue Brownstown, but they're in 3A now. But they're just always well coached, and I just like Linton to come out of that one. They're obviously going to be a better team than Providence, I think.
Yeah, we saw Providence at Muncie Central, and they did not look like a regional championship team to me. We'll see. Obviously, they've had a really good season. They're 17-4, and they play a really good schedule, so clearly a very good team. And 7 o'clock at Seymour, another great venue. It's number 2 South Ripley against Forest Park. South Ripley is 23-1 and easily won their first sectional championship since 2017. They've won two regionals all time, 1970 and 1981. Forest Park has had a lot more postseason success, and they beat North Posey by 2 and Mater Dei by 2 to win their fourth straight sectional championship. Of course, they are the reigning regional champions. This is going to be a good one too, but I'll take South Ripley by 5.
That's an interesting one because South Ripley is in kind of a weird area where they don't play
Right.
as as good as competition as
Absolutely.
Forest Park plays. So I think maybe the strength of schedule could play a factor in that one. I'm gonna go with Forest Park in the upset.
Ooh, the Rangers.
Yeah. Uh, how about the shout out to the 2018 Forest Park state runner up team? Lost to Oak Hill that day. I can tie it
You
back
can
too.
tie it back,
I
yeah.
tie it back. So I'm gonna go with the Rangers of Forest Park to knock off South Ripley on Saturday at.
All right, we'll be right back with Class A. And we're moving on to Class A. And we start with one with a local team and a regional team going head to head. Two Mideastern Conference teams, Daleville against Monroe Central. Daleville still, after winning a sectional 3 games, they are just 9-15. They beat Tri Central, Westdale, and Northfield to win their first sectional since 2009, have never won a regional championship. Excuse me.
You're good.
Monroe Central is 18-6. They blew out Cambridge City Union and Seton Catholic for their first sectional championship since 2022. Their only regional title came in 2010. This game is at 4 o'clock at famed Newcastle Chrysler Arena. By the way, on December 6th, it was the second game of the season for both teams. Monroe Central beat Daleville by 19 points. But since then, Daleville got Hunter Sakina, who's their leading scorer, and has been incredibly hot. I think scored 44 points. Was it
42.
42 points in the against Madison Grant in the regular season finale? I'm going to take Monroe Central by 6, but this could be an interesting one.
It could be. I saw Delville Tri Central, and then from what I've heard from a couple of the other games, Delville, their outside shooting was phenomenal in the sectional from 3-point range. And if they can come out and hit like that, they'll give any team problems because, unless Monroe Central can match them from behind the 3-point arc, because, I'll trade threes for twos all day long because I'm going to come out ahead. Sakina, I think, makes a huge difference to Delville. Because he can knock down the outside shot. He can drive in, and there's just a lot to his game. He's very athletic. And, shout out to Coach Ashley Fouch again for becoming the first female to coach a boys varsity team to a sectional championship,
Yeah.
and doing it on International Women's Day at that on Saturday. So that was really special. And she is a good coach. I saw her when she coached the Daleville girls, and trust me, that group didn't, it was her coaching that got them the sectional championship.
They're clicking at the right time. They got better at the right time, and that win against Madison Grant, I think, was all the momentum they needed going into the tournament. And talking with her prior to that game in our pregame interview, she said that honestly wasn't really thinking about Madison Grant, was just going to show up and playing the game, and was more thinking about next week, and that's where their attention was going to be focused on. And they came out and won that game against Madison Grant in overtime. And Hunter Sahina, I mean, just what I mean, what a phenomenal run he's on right now. He's having a great senior season. 42 points in that game against Madison Grant. Um, I want to go with the Cinderella. I want to go with Daleville, but just I think the luck runs out here. The talent of teams they played along the way in that sectional. Let's face it, is it was weak, and I think Monroe Central would beat anyone that would come out of there. So I'll take Monroe Central over Daleville. I'll take Monroe Central by 8.
I think the only thing that you have to think about there, because I think when the two teams played, Hunter did not play. Monroe Central, the kids, never the coaches, but will the kids realize Delville is really that much better than when they played him the first time. And I mean, so that's where you never know sometimes when you're dealing with young kids as a coach. Are they going
Absolutely.
to buy into the fact that you can sit there and say, and show them, but then they're going to look at the records of those teams that Delville beat in the sectional and might not believe what their coaches are telling them. And if they don't, they could be in trouble.
First of all, I want to say that I felt like Daleville's turnaround came in the Frankton game that they almost won. And by the way, Frankton grads are the best on the planet. Just wanted to tie it in there.
All right.
Um, but also, my philosophy is I always in a game that you don't know which way it's going to go, side with the team with the best player, and the best player is Easton Foster from Monroe Central, and so I will take the Bears.
There you go. I will say this: Robson thinks that will be a pretty good, should be a pretty good game this time around because he does think Sakina makes Delville a more dangerous team.
The 4 o'clock regional at Frankfurt at the Hot Dog Dome. It'll be number 3 Clinton Prairie against Lafayette Central Catholic. Clinton Prairie is 23-2 and just blew through number 8 Carroll, Rossville, two pretty good teams, and Frontier to win their first sectional since 1982. They have never won a regional. Central Catholic is 12-14. They've won back-to-back sectionals, 4 in the last 5 years, and last won a regional in 2022. I can see why people would think this might end up being closer, but I'll just take Clinton Prairie by 16.
Well, I'm sorry, Grant. I'm going to jump in here real quick. Clinton Prairie would probably have a few more sectionals if they had not played in the Lafayette Central Catholic sectional
Yep.
for a lot of years. Even when Prairie had the better record sometimes and maybe the better players, Central Catholic is one of those nemesis, and I think you both know what I'm talking about, teams that it's like a mental block. I do think this year's Prairie team is different for one thing. Not that Prairie has not been well coached in the past, because they have, very much so. But Peckinpah, and his dad's with him. I mean, he's going to have, and they haven't, I don't think he's going to have them not seeing Central Catholic as a nemesis. I do think Prairie will win this game. I won't be surprised if it's relatively close, at least for a half to 3/4.
I'm going to go with Greg here. I don't think it'll be particularly close. I'm going to take Clinton Prairie to kind of roll through that one. I think they'll, start off a little slow against Carroll. I was at the game, and it was a competitive game to start, but
Then just took
just took control. Yeah, just took control. Went on like a 18-0 run at one point, 20-0 run, and they're a really good team. And how rewarding is that for them to have a great season like that and win their win their sectional at Clinton Central, and then play basically another home game of the regional there at Frankfurt. They don't have to, they got to go 10 minutes down the road.
At the hot
Go,
dog.
Well,
yeah, at Case Arena. So
The hot dog dome.
the hot dog dome.
Yes.
So I just like
one of
Clinton
the
Prairie
best
to come
venues
out of that.
to watch basketball.
Oh, so great. So
Yeah,
great.
I won't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if Prairie blows them out, but I'm not. I'm just saying that I think it could be close for a half, and maybe
Okay, so
into the
you're
third
taking
quarter.
Clinton Prairie as well.
Oh yeah, I believe Clinton Prairie will win. I'm just saying that I know the history of those two programs, and it goes back to even when Central Catholic was in the Hoosier Heartland Conference with all of them, and it's probably Clinton. I mean, I don't think Clinton Prairie, Carroll's never been considered a nemesis of Prairie, but Central Catholic was a nemesis of Prairie in some of those sectionals when they had some really good teams and really good players.
The
So,
next 5 sectionals or regionals should all be blowouts, so we should keep most of these tight until the last one, which is going to be a good one. But number 7 Couts goes against Tri County. Couts is 22-4, beat Washington Township by 9 to win their third sectional in the last 5 years. They won the regional just 2 years ago. Tri County's 14-11. They edged Pioneer and West Central for their third straight sectional championship. They've never won a regional and won't again. I say Couts by 10.
I'm going to take Couts in that one too. I don't think it'll be close to just more well coached and more well talented.
Double ditto. Ditto for Greg. Ditto for double ditto with you.
We move to the south where 17-8 Liberty Christian takes on 14-13 North Decatur. Liberty blew out rival Anderson Prep 61-40 in the sectional championship, their fourth straight. Of course, they made the Final Four last year. They are the only reigning regional champion in Class A to be back in the regional this year. They've won 4 regionals in the last 10 years. North Decatur is the other side of the coin. They just won their sectional championship in 3 years, but they've never won a regional. They're just 14-13. The game is at 1 o'clock at Greenfield, and it'll be over by about 1:15. Liberty by 35.
I don't know it'll be that much, but it will be Liberty big.
Yeah, Liberty Christian, no question. That's a program that is well established, and I think they're going to carry on that tradition.
And North
And very
Decatur,
young and talented.
yes, they are. North Decatur's strength is a big man who's slow, and Liberty's just going to run them out of the gym. The regional at 1 o'clock at Martinsville is number 2 Hauser against Indianapolis Lutheran. Hauser is 23-3. They've won 10 in a row. They crushed Shaw, Trinity Lutheran, and Milan for their first sectional championship in 8 years. Their last regional title was 2006. And earlier I talked about Indianapolis Lutheran. They started their season 3-14. They are 5-1 since. They've including a 59-49 upset of number 5 Metropolitan. Their last regional championship was 2 years ago. Michelle, we talked about a football team getting a slow start, especially at the smaller classes. But I think Hauser's the best team in the South, and I'm taking Hauser by 22.
I'll take Hauser by double figures too.
Yep, no question about it. Hauser Jets for the win.
I think a Hauser Clinton Prairie state final is looking like I picked to begin with, is looking pretty good.
That would be
Oh,
phenomenal.
that'd be great. 4 o'clock at Lagodi, another great venue. Number 1, Clay City goes against Northeast Du Bois. Clay City's 24-1. They just won 2 games 3 years ago, by the way. The Fighting Eels.
It's incredible.
They've won 23 games in a row, the state's second longest winning streak. Their only loss was by 5 to Northview, a team that's playing in the 3A regional, by 4 points on the road, by the way. Their last regional title came in 2015. Northeast Du Bois is 16-9. They won their 3 sectional games very comfortably. They've won sectionals 2 times in the last 3 years. Their last regional title came in 2000. They've lost 7 straight regional games. I say Clay City will make it 8 straight regional games. They're going to win by 25.
Yep, Clay City. Arguably number 1 and 2 in the South with them and Hauser. I think that if and when they match up in the semi-state, hopefully, the way the draw comes out, if they were to both come out, it'll be for a championship. Will be a great game. I'm gonna obviously take Clay City over Northeast Du Bois Saturday.
I will take Clay City too. And yes, they may have only won 2 games 3 years ago, but they're a Class A school, and it's secular. In 2015, folks, they went all the way to the state championship where they lost to the Frankton Eagles. So
That's
it's a
right.
team that's just, you know, 9, 10 years removed from a state finals experience. I know these kids didn't play in it, but some of these kids were probably in the stands that day, and they dreamed about it. And sounds like Clay City has got another good group and on a roll. So yes, Clay City to win.
All right, then the final regional that we are going to preview is one of my favorites. And by the way, you guys talk about Hauser and Clay City. I'm not sure Liberty Christian and Orleans aren't just as good, if
That's
not better,
true.
than Clay City. I think Hauser's a half level above. But anyway, Orleans is taking on number 13 Christian Academy, another team that's quite good. Orleans is 21-4. They won a tough sectional comfortably, of course. They beat 42 North Davies 42-34 in the championship. Their 12th sectional championship of the class era. They've only ever won one regional though, and that was in 2003 with the great Trey Bradley. His dad, of course, Tom Bradley, has 621 wins, but only one regional. 421 wins, but only one regional title. Christian Academy is 18-8. They've won 9 games in a row. They beat Borden 48-35 to win the sectional at West Washington, their 5th sectional championship in the last 11 years. Their only regional championships came in 1998 and 1999. And my favorite coach in the entire state, Hayden Casey. Nothing against Tom Bradley and the Orleans Bulldogs, who I also like after covering them for so long down there and all their greatness. I'm going to take Orleans by 5 and hope that Christian Academy wins this game.
I'm gonna take the upset. I'm gonna take Christian Academy. They got a good player in Joshua Renfro's going to Marion.
Very good player.
Um, I just like I don't know. I don't know what it is. I like Christian Academy. Come out of there, maybe it's more experienced than Orleans, who's those kids have not been in that position as opposed to Christian Academy, who has. I'm going to take Christian Academy to upset Orleans.
That's a tough one. I kind of think along with you, Grant. I kind of think I look and I think Christian Academy because I know I've seen them and they've had some success. And they may win, but my heart's going to go with little old Orleans, so I'll pick Orleans.
By the way, Hayden Casey, I've known him since he was the student manager of the Borden Braves and coach in waiting under the great Doc Nash, and those guys are my favorites. So I just wanted to shout out to Hayden Casey. Nothing against any of the other coaches. Love you, Brent Brobston. Love you, Coach Van Skyok. My favorite coach in the state is Hayden Casey at this point. So I hope the Christian Academy Eagles. By the way, producer Susie, is also a graduate of Christian Academy. I was actually it was Graceland Christian at the time, yeah. So go Warriors. So thank you guys so much for your time. It's been a lot of fun, and Grant, Michelle, and I are about to record our Tipton Manchester regional preview. That will probably be out first thing on Saturday morning. So please look for that one. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Greg. Looking forward to talking about that Manchester Tipton game. It's going to be a good one, and hopefully by the time that thing comes out, Tipton fans can listen to it on the drive there to the
That's
Berry
right.
Bowl.
That's right. And all the fans going to the hot dog dome as well. Wow, that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much to Grant and Michelle for joining the Central Indiana Sports Report and making it so much better. Have a great weekend, guys.
Yeah, you too.
And thank you for listening. If you are interested in seeing the Central Indiana Sports Report continue to grow and thrive, please share it with your friends and family. The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media, and I love Susie. It's the weekend. I got to go.